Welcome to Voice from the Real World. We've been looking at the law of creation, or how does creation work. And we're in our final few sessions of doing some review. And I'd like to review just a few sections from primarily the text. And we're going to first look at chapter 3, section 4, and verse 6. The ability to perceive made the body possible because you must perceive something and with something. We covered that before. You make perception and you make a body to perceive a world and an earth and other bodies. Perception comes first. It makes the body possible. That is why perception involves an exchange or translation which knowledge does not need. Knowledge functions in true communication. It knows. It knows everything. It is part of the whole. Therefore it experiences the whole. And the totality of the whole in its essence. So there's no need for an interpretation or a translation in knowledge, but only in perception, and it must have an interpretation. That's why everybody has their own world, because it's their interpretation and their translation until we receive the translation or interpretation of the Holy Spirit, who brings us then to a real world view or perspective. The interpretative function of perception, a distorted form of creation. Why is it a form of creation? Because you're making it the way you want it, the way you would have it. Then permits you to interpret the body as yourself in an attempt to escape from the conflict you have induced. Spirit, which knows, could not be reconciled with this loss of power because it is incapable of darkness. This makes spirit almost inaccessible to the mind and entirely inaccessible to the body. All right, we talked about that. Spirit has already been created. The mind cannot function apart from spirit. However, spirit cannot agree with the mind's decision to choose an almost total loss of power or darkness. The spirit can't relate to that. Truth can't relate to a fantasy or to an illusion. All right? Mind can't separate, but mind can attempt to do this. However, if it does it, it is only an illusion. It is a fantasy and nothing more. All right, next I want to go to chapter 9 of the text, section 6 and verse 7. Eternity is one time, its only dimension being always. This cannot mean anything to you until you remember God's open arms. Talked about remembering. You remember God's open arms and finally know His open mind. Like Him, you are always in His mind and with a mind like His. In your open mind are your creations in perfect communication, born of perfect understanding. Could you but accept one of them, you would not want anything the world has to offer. Everything else would be totally meaningless. God's meaning is incomplete without you, and you are incomplete without your creations. Accept your brother in this world, and accept nothing else, for in him you will find your creations, because he created them with you. You will never know that you are co-creator with God until you learn that your brother is co-creator with you. So, how do we begin to remember our creations? We begin to see our brother in the real world, the innocent son. As we see our brother, we begin to remember Father, but we also begin to remember our creations because it was all created together. We created with our brother and all our brothers and our Father. And when did that happen? Always. Okay, we're in time, so this is, it's a hard concept to wrap around, but it's always. So, did I create my creation? Yes. When? Always. When I used and activated my mind to create, as I am doing now in heaven, as you are doing now in heaven, and that new creation came forth. Now remember, it was already in spirit, already in the Father's thought. It is activated, it is a born thought, and it now enters into eternity, and it is eternity. It is always, and has always been. And it enjoys the happiness and the joyfulness of creation. Remember, in the heavenly thought, creation is meaning. If you want to know what the Father means, He means creation, which is the extending forever of love, forever and for always. Let's look at one more in this video, text chapter 2 and section 1, verse 4. All fear is ultimately reducible to the basic misperception that you have the ability to usurp the power of God. Remember we talked about when we made belief, there were 4 things that we had to believe. One of them was that we could actually pull this off, that we believed we could usurp the creation of God, usurp His power to change His creation. That is where fear comes from, the idea that we could actually do that, which we could not. Of course, what it's going to say. Of course, you neither can nor have been able to do this. Here is the real basis for your escape from fear. The escape is brought about by your acceptance of the atonement, which enables you to realize that your errors never really occurred. Your fear is gone when you receive the atonement for yourself, which is, I am innocent and I've always been. I am as God created me. I'm not a body. I am free. I am as God created me. Okay, we're going to continue our review on the next video.
For more information about Voice from the Real World, please feel free to visit our website at www.voicefromtherealworld.org or send us an email at voicefromtherealworld@yahoo.com. Thank you for watching.